All right, here we go on a Thursday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Hope you're having a great start to your morning. We are more than happy to have you guys for the next 3 hours. Jump in at any point with the phone line. 615-737-1045 is how you do that. We got a spicy AFC game on Thursday Night Football. I'm excited about that. Did you see kickoff is at 6 p.m. on Amazon?
No.
As opposed to 7:20?
AFC West matchup.
I'm doing this Real Men Wear Pink campaign to raise money for cancer research for the American Cancer Society, which at some point I will call upon this great radio station to allow me to plug. But I have this event for Real Men Wear Pink tonight, and it's from 5:30 to 7:30. And I am going to still raise the money for them, but I don't know if it's inappropriate for me to be like, hey, I didn't know that the Amazon Prime broadcasts now start at 6 o'clock. Can we negotiate potentially whether you need me there or not?
No, you'll get home in time to see Brandon Staley blow it late.
Did you enjoy getting that joke off? He immediately evaporates into the background to pick up a phone call. I swear. There is, it's just so many things, so many different life events that conflict with football. And it's really sad how often we want to choose football, given the significance of many other things, weddings, birthdays, funerals, childbirth, all these different things. But are the Chargers and the Chiefs playing on Thursday night? Maybe we reconsider this. So we've got Greg Cosell audio for you today. There is I think there's been a overcorrection in all the way that the dialogue has gone down throughout the course of the week. And I think it really fomented yesterday in something that I thought was funny for a second. I'm like, okay, it's finally gone too far. So I don't know how often any of you, maybe some of you don't at all, get on Twitter. That's fine. God bless you if you remove yourself from that hellhole that is social media. But for the rest of us who just want to stick our face into it and snort it, is sometimes look at trending things on Twitter to kind of understand, okay, what's going on locally that people are discussing, what's going on within the sports world. It's a really efficient tool to narrow down discourse. Now, a lot of that discourse is stupid, but that's beside the point. So yesterday locally, the hashtag Fire Todd Downing is trending on Twitter. And I looked at that and I said, all right, they've made their point known. They're unhappy about the week 1 results. Fire Todd Downing is now trending on Twitter. I'm like, okay, this has to stop at a certain point because it's really not that deep. And I know I'm going to say that, and a lot of people are going to be pissed at me. Like we carried Vrabel's press conference on Monday, Lucas, and there was commentary about some people didn't like the fact that Mike didn't sound like he was taking the loss seriously enough. And I'm just like, well, what's he going to do? Did it make you feel better for Nathaniel Hackett to get up on a press conference or a podium the Monday after making that idiotic decision to let a kicker try from 64 for the win and say, yeah, we probably should have let Russ go for it on 4th and 5? That make anybody feel better? No, because you still lost the game. It don't matter. I don't care what your tone is after a game. Now, if you're a goober like Dan Mullen or something like that, and you're out there in a Star Wars get-up at post-game press conferences, like maybe then we have to have a talk. But you're going to hear from Greg Cosell today on why he doesn't think there's any kind of drastic change coming to what he saw from the Titans on offense, and why, for a lot of you, it's not going to sound okay, but I promise it's largely going to be okay. So we'll do that, and we also have to talk about the firings already in college football at some point, since we're already on the topics of firings, and a position that the Titans didn't prioritize, really. Did you find it surprising that David Anini wasn't called up to the active roster from the practice squad, and they opted instead for this rando Derek Tuska off the Steelers practice squad?
A little bit, yes.
Is that just because you watched a lot of him in the preseason and you said that guy's got something, why don't you keep him?
Yeah, because they know what they have in him.
Fair. But would the judgment also not say if they know what they have in him and they're good with letting him go, shouldn't you be too?
That is a very fair point, and Tuska has played a lot more games than David Aneni.
Who got signed, ironically enough, to the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squad because T.J. Watt just went on IR. Now, there is a clip, because Greg's going to talk about the offense more later on, but we can't give it all to you at once. So I'm instead going to go to this clip of Greg talking about Jeff Simmons, and I want you to listen to the very last part while he's glowing about Jeff, because while Jeff did help them come up with 5 sacks on Sunday and did create a tremendous amount of pressure himself, I think Greg kind of spoke to something at the end here that may be concerning down the line.
Jeffrey Simmons welcomed the rookie Uzudu to the NFL on a number of plays, and also the other left guard, Bredson. He had some really good snaps. Simmons really stood out on tape to me. You know, one issue for them, and we kind of knew this would be an issue, so you can't be surprised by it, is much of their pressure came from the inside. They did not really get much edge pressure.
So Greg's talking about welcome to the NFL moments for rookie offensive linemen for the Giants, and Jeff Simmons out there tossing interior guys around. And then Greg says something at the end there that's kind of easy to gloss over because he's saying good things about our guy, right? He's saying good things about Jeff. Look how excited the smart football guy is about Jeff Simmons and how proud we should be. And then he says something at the end there. They didn't really get a lot of pressure from the edge that I think would probably surprise people because Weaver had, 2 sacks? Rashad Weaver did. Bud Dupree was active. He got a sack. He had a fumble recovery as well. No, did Jeff force the fumble and Bud recover it? That sounds right. On Daniel Jones. Anyway, regardless, I think for Greg to say after tape study, they didn't really do much on the edge. They weren't really bothering Daniel Jones from that part of the pocket. Now, I thought Evan Neal, I didn't think he was great run blocking. When I went back and watched that game, I thought Evan Neal held up really nicely in pass pro. And he should as a top 10 pick this year for the New York Giants and a physical specimen out of Alabama, yet another one, because they had 58 and Alabama players on active rosters in the NFL to open week 1, most by far in the league. But Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal at the tackle spots held up pretty well, and Jeff just totally caved them in from the inside. Most efficient way in the NFL, we know this right now, is to get pressure from the interior because it's the quickest path to the quarterback. And if you got one of these dudes that can make life a living hell for some, pud of a guard that's just out there to get in his way and it doesn't end up working out like that because Jeff is still bigger, faster, and stronger than you, well, then, that works out. But at some point, obviously, teams are going to work harder to take Jeff away, and then is the pass rush going to look infinitely more human? Jeff had 2 sacks. He had 6 total pressures between the 2 sacks and the 4 hurries. He had 2 tackles, 2 stops at the line of scrimmage, and he had a forced fumble of the Giants. So he was out there, he was active, and from the inside, box score numbers for interior defensive linemen, they don't normally pop. This guy does because he's special. So I think when Lucas said he was surprised this morning, that he was surprised to see David Aneni get signed from the Steelers or by the Steelers off the Titans practice squad and then go out and pick up somebody else, I think it's because they're saying, all right, like the safety depth, we got to find a couple of different ways to do this. They sent more pressure on Sunday against the Giants than they did in a lot of single-game instances last year, a lot of 5-man rushes, when the thing that made the Titans so effective last year is that they could get 4-man pressure, and they could do it different ways. You could drop Harold Landry into coverage. You could send Elijah Molden as your 4th guy. You could do the same with Bud Dupree on the other side of the formation. You could have David Long be the 4th rusher in that instance from the interior and make quarterbacks have to think. Daniel Jones, outside of that horrendous interception, and he did give you the horrendous Daniel Jones interception when he just kind of airmailed it right into Monty Hooker's chest. Daniel Jones was sneaky efficient. And I think as you kind of start to pay attention to trends, week 1, only sample size we have, we'll see how it develops. I feel pretty good about their game plan going into Buffalo because for whatever I think of the fact that they still carry themselves as underdogs, and I kind of get tired of that, after a while, their success rate against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills specifically does speak for itself. Doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to win, but I think they're gonna put up a fight in a way that they're 10-point dogs right now. When I looked at Superbook last night, if at some point as we get closer to Monday, the money's going to start to shift on that. So if I was out there betting with your money, because you know I can't bet the NFL with my money, I would take the Titans and the points. We'll see how it ends up going.
By the way, I do think you're incorrect about tonight's kickoff. It is indeed at 7:15 Central.
Where did I see 6 o'clock?
I don't know. Everything I am seeing says 7:15 Central, a typical Thursday night kick.
I thought I was watching that. I'm gonna completely abdicate responsibility here. I'm almost certain I was watching a DVR'd episode of NFL Live this morning, and they said 6 o'clock.
Maybe 6 o'clock in another time zone.
Are you reading the internet wrong, or is this just something that I'm trying to fire strays in all different directions from the fact to distract from the fact that I got it wrong?
No, you got it wrong.
Okay, very good. 615-737-1045 is how it goes. Brandon Rushing says tonight is 7:15. Titans this Monday is 6:15. That's what I did.
There you go.
That's what I did.
Doubleheader on Monday.
Are you going to have to split screen Monday night? If you're, I'm going to be at the game, so like I'm going to be watching that game in front of me. But are people going to have to split screen the Monday night game? I don't like that. I can't imagine the NFL's happy with that. That's going to take a chunk out of their ratings.
Well, Titans fans aren't. Titans fans are going to be watching Titans Bills. But yeah, 7:30 kickoff for Vikings Eagles, an hour 15 minutes after the Titans.
What's a better game, Vikings Eagles or Titans Bills?
Well, at surface level, after what happened in week 1, you would say Vikings Eagles.
It would look to be a compelling matchup on paper. A.J. Brown had a fantastic day, and so did Justin Jefferson.
The Titans, we know, do not play on paper. They're also 8-2 in their last 10 Monday Night Football matchups.
Ryan Tannehill undefeated as the Titans starting quarterback in Monday Night Football games. And we'll talk about some other stats that don't matter later on. Your questions on the roster, we'll get to a few of them. We also have to take a look at some SEC takeaways. Lucas felt like he didn't have enough time to breathe yesterday. So instead of letting him run out of air the way that he likes to do when he's on a roll that way, we're gonna give him a little more time to work on some SEC observations. Your phone call's next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
With a little passion one time. What's wrong back there? You can't say it behind a music bed like this and say it half-heartedly.
What, did I say it half-heartedly?
I felt so.
No.
You want to try it again?
No.
Welcome back. 615-737-1045. Going to look at some coaches who have already been fired in the college football world and how surprised we are that we made it, 2 weeks into the season? I guess 3 if you count week 0 before the first heads started to roll. Or
Nebraska does.
Head. Yes, just that one guy. And now Compton is out here on a campaign on social media to try to become the next Nebraska Cornhuskers head coach, which, of course, would be an abject disaster and also hilarious. So I hope for his sake it works out. Ryan is in Lebanon up first this morning. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. Good morning, Buck. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Got a question about Josh Gordon, why he hasn't been on the 53-man roster and cut Cody Hollister. I just don't see a whole lot of football for Cody Hollister in the near future. Love to hear your take. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the call, Ryan. So I said when Josh Gordon got signed, he was going to be my golden take this year. Yeah, like where we just get questions at some point throughout the course of a week. Maybe not a ton, but once every once in a while. Hey, what's going on with Golden Tate? We still got him, right? Yeah, he's still there. Your point about Hollister versus Hollister. What did Cody Hollister do in his? Let me look up how many snaps Cody had in this game, because he did contribute in the small sample size of work that he got. I know he was on the field for more than the 22-yard reception that he ended up getting.
Was his only target of the game.
So what did Cody Hollister do when targeted? He caught the ball. He was in the right spot. He caught the ball. Ryan Tannehill knew he was going to be there. Cody Hollister, 22-yard gain. The reason Cody Hollisters of the world exist on the roster over, say, a Des Fitzpatrick or a kind of a certainly higher ceiling, maybe at one point, player in Josh Gordon, who hasn't produced much as of late, because the coaching staff and the quarterback are going to know that Cody Hollister, when they run that play to Cody Hollister, he's going to be there. He's just going to be sitting there. They know he's not going to screw up on an assignment because he's trying to do too much. They know that Cody Hollister knows that he has a role. He's going to execute it. Otherwise, his NFL career does not exist. He is going into year 4, year 3. He's been around for a while, and still questions persist about Cody Hollister. What is he doing here? Because he doesn't look like an NFL wide receiver that you would want on your team necessarily. But in his small role, he made the play that they needed him to make. Now, you could argue that why is Cody Hollister on the field at all? More snaps for Treylon Burks. What are we doing? Throw to the first-round pick. I would have difficulty pushing back on that argument specifically. But if you're talking about over Josh Gordon, yeah, they don't know that he can deliver that quite yet. It may seem simple. It may seem routine. Josh Gordon's been in the league for 10 years at this point. So at 31 years old, you would think that he would be able to pick up concepts well and be able to execute and have the quarterback's trust right away, because he just looks more like an NFL wide receiver. And yet, there's Cody Hollister, 22-yard gain. I think that kind of stuff gets lost when you talk about NFL teams. How big a factor the trust that the coaching staff has supersedes the talent argument. Sue-Ann called in a couple of days ago, right, and took Todd Downing out at the knees and said that when Mike Vrabel had his press conference in training camp where he said, I don't want to be a coach that solely relies on talent, Sue-Ann thinks that it's laugh out loud funny that was the thing that he said, because of course that makes sense that Todd Downing would still be their offensive coordinator. You don't want to rely on talent. There's Todd. That was cruel. It made us laugh. Point being, coaches will always defer to the player that they trust versus the more talented player. Almost always. And more often than not, that's the thing that keeps these NFL careers alive. Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is a perfect example. Lucas, can you look up for me what Joe Flacco's stat line was as the starting quarterback for the New York Jets? Because I bet I could almost project what it would be ballpark at 37 years old that Joe Flacco is out here starting in an NFL game and will start, seems, in week 2.
Go ahead.
Flacco, I will say 17 of 27. Am I right there?
Mm-mm.
High, low?
Way too low.
Way too low.
Yeah, he threw the ball 59 times.
Shut the hell up.
He was 37 of 59 for 309 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and was sacked 3 times.
When did he throw the touchdown? Did the touchdown matter to the consequence of the game whatsoever?
The touchdown, no, it was with a minute left in the fourth.
Okay, so
when, they made it a 24-9 ball game.
I almost want to remove credit for Joe Flacco's touchdown in the fourth quarter that way because bleh. All right, well, it's obscene that Joe Flacco is out here attempting 59 passes in an NFL game at 37 years old. That's a nightmare. So bad example. But I still think Joe Flacco is somebody that a coaching staff trusts. Mike White had a game. He had like a 400-yard game last year. I think it was against the Bengals.
Yes, it was. Western Kentucky legend Mike White.
He went out there and got him. And what did he do the next week? He threw like 4 interceptions. And they said, get him out of here. Because they're so, especially like Saleh is a Mike Vrabel. He's not Mike Vrabel. But Saleh seems like the same kind of philosophical approach. He just doesn't seem as competent, nearly as competent as Mike does. I think Robert Saleh's record right now is like 4-14. Like, he's really bad. And he's coaching the Jets, so may God have mercy on his soul. But I think when you talk about things like why the hell is Joe Flacco still out there at 37, it's because Robert Saleh and the offensive coordinator for the Jets, they're like, yeah, I trust him to not turn the ball over. I trust him to do the safe thing. I trust him that when I call the play, he's going to execute the play. So the control freak, as the head coach or the coordinator, has as much control over the situation as humanly possible without accounting for whatever disaster variance that Mike Whites of the world would bring. I think that's why Cody Hollister continues to get roster spots. People like Cody Hollister in the NFL because coaches have that need, that trust as much as humanly possible if they're going to be comfortable putting you out on the field. That's way too much Cody Hollister talk. You think that's what we were doing at Thursday on a game day of Chargers-Chiefs at 10:30 in the morning?
Do you know where Cody Hollister went to college?
Oh, I don't. That's a great question.
Yeah, I found this out the other day, and I had no idea.
I should. My God, he's been here long enough.
Played for Chad Morris at Arkansas.
What?
Played at Arkansas.
Why did I not know that? Like, not just like, why did I think that Cody Hollister was, I did the thing to Cody Hollister that everybody else is doing. I looked at him and said, that's not an NFL wide receiver. He couldn't possibly play Power 5 college football. I thought he was like a Berry College D3, like Mason Kinsey. Arkansas. How about that?
Yeah, was recruited by Brett Bielema. But,
Speaking of...
Actually, no, that's incorrect. He only played for Brett Bielema. I apologize. Morris came in the year after Hollister left.
Excellent. The more you know. Since we're on the SEC and you were protesting this morning, so you didn't have enough time to get through your SEC observations. Every time you have tried 3 different times this week to get me to direct a conversation about college football. And I have tried. I have tried several times. We've just had the circumstances like Slay and Ramon jumping into the studio to start a Monday morning show unannounced, but welcome, as always. And then different situations arose. What do you want to say about the SEC that you didn't get to say yesterday?
Georgia's really, really, really good.
Okay, thank you.
I'm done.
They only won by like 35, though. Problems in Athens? Stetson Bennett, more mortal than we thought. What was the final score of their game this weekend? Who the hell did they play? That you're looking at Georgia and saying, yes, they were overwhelmingly dominant against the opponent. Who was the opponent this week?
Oh, the opponent this week does not matter. They played Samford.
Okay, so what about beating the living hell out of Samford is reaffirming your position about Georgia?
It's mostly residuals from week 1, to be quite honest, and seeing what Alabama did or didn't do in Austin.
You're as bad as these AP poll voters that keep doing things like putting Kentucky from 20-9 after they beat Florida, who was previously unranked, but all of a sudden was 12th in the country after they beat Utah. Enough of these college football writers.
That is a product of preseason rankings, which honestly shouldn't even exist. Like the preseason AP Top 25 should not even exist because we have no idea. We don't know anything about any of these teams. I don't think a poll should come out until 2 weeks into the season. Which, if it does, yeah, Kentucky's done enough to say that they might be a top 10 team. Georgia's done enough to say they are the best team in the country right now.
What the hell is happening to Missouri? Eli Drinkwitz is somebody who we looked at as the only coach who would possibly be fired in the SEC East this year if, like, he started out to a rocky campaign. Missouri has had a disaster of a situation, and their strong recruiting classes that they've done well to bring in, I would think that has to be teetering at this point.
Yeah, they looked awful against Kansas State. I mean, they have shown almost no improvement under Eli Drinkwitz. Their defense was horrendous a season ago. Connor Bazelak was supposed to be something. I mean, he projected to be a promising talent at quarterback. He now plays for your Hoosiers. And I think he's had a nice start to the season,
2-0, baby.
2-0.
Defend the rock.
But Scott Frost gets fired a couple weeks into the season. I don't think anybody anticipated that coming even that early, especially when Nebraska could have saved $7.5 million if they waited literally 3 weeks.
What are they doing? Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't in this situation, right? Because on the one hand, you're losing to Fun Belt teams. On the other hand, you've got this ungodly buyout. And I have to imagine that the passion that Nebraska fans have, the amount of them that traveled to Dublin to watch them lose to Northwestern and Scott Frost attempt an onside kick in the third quarter, that was an abject disaster. They will not take this lying down. So I have to imagine the passion of the fan base would also be indicative of what the money is like at Nebraska, like the boosters and people funding the athletic department. The pressure has to be so much. And I didn't know that the Nebraska athletic director played with Scott Frost.
Yeah.
I guess it's a former teammate firing school legend Scott Frost being like, hey, bud, can't have that out there.
I respect it. When it's over, it's over. And you make a move sooner rather than later. Like Tennessee fans learned that the hard way when Butch Jones stuck around for 5 weeks, way too long in 2017. Have you heard this clip going around about with Nebraska fans just utterly melting down on sports radio in Lincoln?
No, but I bet it's great.
Let's check in on Husker Nation.
I mean, look, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor.
Congratulations.
All 3 of those cancers, thank you. All 3 of those cancers were easier to survive than the last 4+ seasons of this crap.
Oh, my God.
I mean, you can bring in all the guys that are talented and all of this and all of that. But defense takes a mentality. You know what you need on defense? You need boar hunters. These guys go shopping at Hy-Vee for their bacon. I need guys that go out and hunt in the woods and hunt these suckers down with knives. And they're not even doing any of that. Because you need a defense that fights with bloody knuckles instead of just hitting the damn face every week.
What?
Go through it.
I thought we had callers, man. What is happening in Lincoln, Nebraska?
That's the standard. That's the standard for sports radio callers. These guys go shopping at Hy-Vee for their bacon.
This man said I had cancer. I'm a 4-time cancer survivor. And that was, or 2-time cancer survivor. 3-time, whatever. And he said that was better to watch than the last 4 games. That was better to deal with than the last 4 games. Are you out of your mind? What is happening? This is why I love sports so much. People are insane. People are insane. Because I've been trying to talk you off the ledge a little bit about Todd Downing all week long because, you know, you're just going to, it feels harsh to come in here on a Monday morning and be like, yeah, he's not going anywhere, so you kind of got to eat it. Like, I feel like that kills a lot for the rest of the week. So you try to slow play people into it a little bit, and you go through the things that went wrong, and you dissect the issues and the play calls and be like, well, of course I would never hand it to Chigakakwa on a 3rd and 1 because you know what? You're right. 90% of us would not have done that. And those things are incorrect decisions. But at the end of the day, they lost by 1. And Mike Vrabel's going to come out there and look at their offensive game plan on 1st down and be like, yeah, that's kind of what we do. That's kind of what we do. And people are going to poop themselves in the entire week leading up to a game because they can't help it. They can't help it. The calls from Lincoln, Nebraska are such a great touch, especially with the soothing voice. You have enough to do back there, so I don't think I could ask you in good conscience to do something like that with our callers a day after a loss.
If we got calls like that, I would.
We kind of, every once in a while. Well, actually, no. We have not gotten spitting rage.
Right.
We have not gotten spitting rage. Now, it's not been as bad as what's happening in Nebraska and the expectations and just pride, general pride of a program that is a shell of itself.
Well, it's just this feeling of helplessness. If you're a Nebraska fan. I mean, if there was any coach where it was going to work, it was Scott Frost because he had the proof of concept. He arrived at UCF when they were 0-12. They were 0-12.
Yeah.
And he flipped the switch to 13-0 and, quote unquote, national champions in like 3 years.
It was celebrated as one of the most important hires in college football in like the last decade. Because not only was he deemed good and above average at his craft and had done well to overachieve and completely turned around the program, no, now he's got the opportunity to go home. I mean, it's Philip Fulmer, athletic director, is not the same kind of life cycle. I'm trying to think if Tennessee has had anything like that. They have wanted it. I remember the whole thing when I got here is, Butch Jones not a Tennessee guy. They need a Tennessee guy. They need somebody who cares about the program the way that we care about the program. And yeah, okay, fine. Like, that's all well and good. I understand it means something, but also you got to be competent.
Well, up until Philip Fulmer was hired, essentially every successful head coach, meaningfully successful head coach across all sports in Tennessee history were born and bred Tennesseans. Pat Summitt, Johnny Majors, Philip Fulmer were all Tennesseans to the core. Played at Tennessee, went to Tennessee, the whole deal. But, I mean, Ed Orgeron is the best example that you can think of. And I don't know, maybe him and Scott Frost are feeling pretty similarly nowadays, although Ed Orgeron had quite a larger buyout than Scott Frost.
We did not play this Ed Orgeron sound from the Touchdown Club somewhere in Arkansas. The Touchdown Club is like a podcast? What's happening with this thing?
Little Rock, every college football community has these touchdown clubs with boosters and people in the community.
Yeah, but they're getting like big names that have nothing to do with Arkansas.
Huge. Paul Feinbaum, John Gruden, Ed Orgeron have all been there in the last 3 weeks. Like in Knoxville, they'll get Josh Heupel. They'll get, Alex Golish to come speak to them. But
We did not talk about the John Gruden appearance on the Touchdown Club. That was laugh out loud funny.
Was it funnier than this Ed Orgeron appearance?
I'm so grateful of my time, fellas. That was my opportunity. Coaches got a shelf. Some coaches got 50 years. Some coaches got 12. Mine was 6. Good. I got to tell you, we had a meeting. Say, Coach, things are not going well. No Ray Charles can see that, brother. And they were good. And Scott Woodward is a friend of mine today. Really, really, a lot of respect for the way they handled me.
So what's next?
Well, I got to tell you this, though. Say, Coach, you got $17.1 million on your contract. We're going to give it to you. I said, what time you want me to leave and what door you want me out of, brother?
I mean, he's not wrong.
He gets it.
But yeah, they all do. Will Muschamp has made generational money from being a below average to mediocre college football coach. These guys, the money that they get, $17.1 million for that swamp monster to ride off into the sunset and play golf in Palm Beach or wherever he's hanging out these days with his new girlfriend. Like, Edo's doing just fine. So Scott Frost's probably like, yeah, give me the money and get this the hell out of my life. I want nothing to do with this. There is no better job in the American economy than that of fired college football coach. The American dream. 615-737-1045. Scott, in Bethpage. It must be football season.
It is definitely football season. A little late. I'm a little late on the draw, but I'm coming.
You're forgiven.
I'm coming. All right, boys. Real quick, I just want to hit on the Nebraska thing. I used to love watching Nebraska in the 90s, especially because I was, a young adult, a teenager and young adult. I loved the style of football at the time I was born coached. I was like always wanting my team to be that good one day, I think it went south for them, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm in left field, but I believe it went south when they went to the Big Ten. I've hated it ever since Nebraska went to the Big Ten. When they started dismantling the Big 12 the way they have, it just nothing's been right about that conference since Colorado and Nebraska both left. So, I don't know if there's a chance they could get back to it after all settled with Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC, but I would really like to see Nebraska out of the Big Ten. It's never felt right. It's like kissing your sister. It's just not right seeing them in the Big Ten. Cedric Tillman, they're hitting on him now. Doring and Spikes have finally joined the rest of the come to the party. Finally, they showed up. and they're recognizing Cedric Tillman as one of the best receivers in the country. I feel like he's a top 5, and I felt like last year he was a top 5. So, Buck, I'm going to ask you, Mr. NFL, where do you think he goes in the draft? And, Lucas, I want your opinion as well. And as always, it's football season, so there's just a little bit of extra love for you two, especially you, Lucas Panzica. Love you guys.
Love you too, Scott.
Love you too, Scott.
I almost just wanted to let the music sit there after we said we love him and just, let it be there. We should have gone to break, honestly. Sorry. He brought up Cedric Tillman. I've talked to a lot of NFL college scouts about this. That's definitely worth talking about. I also have a good comparison for what Scott just referenced. Nebraska moving from the Big 12 to the Big 10 and what it kind of sapped them of. Because there's a really, really good example going on right now, not UCLA and USC, that's also in the Big 10 that has completely had any college football competitiveness or tradition stripped from them. We'll talk about that next. So Scott and Beth Page brought up a interesting point about being a Nebraska fan, growing up a Nebraska fan, now a Tennessee Volunteers fan.
Well, he just said he enjoyed watching Nebraska growing up.
Forgive me. Does that not... Well, can you be a fan? So you're still a Tennessee fan, but you just enjoy watching Nebraska?
Yes, which...
Do you have a team like that?
Not necessarily, but I get it. Nebraska was so dominant. He talked about it in the context of, would love to see my team look like that, you know?
Okay, that's right.
Nebraska ended Peyton Manning's career at Tennessee in the Orange Bowl.
So what he said was he doesn't think that Nebraska is ever going to be able to get it back because they haven't been the same since they left the Big 12. And the first team or the first athletic department that popped into my head, and it's different because they weren't national champions, but I looked at it through the prism of basketball. Maryland in the Big Ten is an atrocity. Maryland in Big Ten basketball versus not playing North Carolina, not playing Duke, not playing these ACC competitors that they have been champions against and won championships in that sport. At Maryland, I look at Maryland in the Big Ten as just like this kind of freakish thing. Like it's never going to get back there. They're going to get smoked in football every time they take the field, or at least in the ACC, you know, maybe you get beat up on by Wake Forest and NC State and Clemson, but the rest of it, you can kind of ride it out and make it a game, right? No, Michigan's just going to roll over you every time you go to the big house. Even Indiana is going to put it to you in ways that Indiana should not be able to. So when he brought up Nebraska in the Big Ten, it made me think of the Big Ten as just this. What is it about the Big Ten and absorbing programs it has no business taking? UCLA, USC, Nebraska, Rutgers, Maryland. Like, what is it about the Big Ten that they're just out here for the television contracts?
Money.
Yeah, well, that's the answer. Another thing that he brought up about what was his second point that we said we were going to talk about? Oh, Cedric Tillman.
Tillman as an NFL prospect.
Cedric Tillman is an NFL prospect. Last year, what I was told by several college scouts is that if he came out, he would probably be a late day 2, early day 3 pick.
In this past draft.
Now, there are a lot of wide receivers that were built similarly to Cedric Tillman with a larger body of work, for lack of a better term.
More than one season.
Correct. And the other season not being 8 career receptions, basically. So Cedric Tillman, I think, probably projects, and we'll see how it goes. He's in the right system. And his quarterback, even though he didn't look great on Saturday against Pitt, I think that the thought process right now is he's probably a second-round pick based on the rest of the wide receiver talent that's currently populating college football. Now, I think he has the ability, and he certainly has the prototypical size to be, Drake London and Alex Pierce, a couple of guys who went in the first and second round this year. That's kind of the model that I'm looking at Cedric Tillman in. Mike Evans is like the highest evolution of this. Julio Jones, right? These just big-bodied wide receivers that also have incredible speed that can make plays down the field as well as be a threat in the red zone that way. Cedric Tillman right now feels like he's trending towards being a second-round draft pick in the league. So I hope for his sake that it continues to trend that way, because I was honestly surprised to see him go back. Like, you have to have real confidence, and it sounds like it took some convincing. Hooker, I think, explored it. The way that the way that it was described to me, it was a Music City Bowl. I was talking to some people about Hendon Hooker. And they said, well, he looked at it because of the nature of the weak quarterback class. Like Davis Mills, if it had come out last year, it would have been a first-round pick. It almost feels like. Given where he is in the league, what he offered in his rookie year, and how few there's no other rookie quarterbacks in the league starting right now. Kenny Pickett is behind Mitch Trubisky. So for the sake of Cedric Tillman, I hope that pans out well. Mike Vrabel is going to be at the podium in just about 7 minutes. We're going to carry his what would be a Wednesday press conference, except it's Monday Night Football, so their work week is a little different. We'll carry that for you live coming up next.
It is 10:58. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Pittsburgh Steelers are signing outside linebacker David Aneni to their 53-man roster from the Titans practice squad. That's according to a report by Field Yates. The Steelers have added pass rusher TJ Watt to IR with a pec injury. And the Titans announced today the signing of outside linebacker Jerry Green, a former Mississippi State teammate of Jeffrey Simmons, to the practice squad. Green was drafted in the 6th round by the Colts in 2019, has never played a regular season snap. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2, Titans on the practice field ahead of Buffalo on Monday Night Football. Head coach Mike Vrabel, he just got to the podium. Let's go live to his press conference.
You're exactly right. You both are exactly right, actually.
Mike, you got so much production out of your rookies in the passing game this last week. How much more do you need to start getting out of some of your veterans like Robert and Austin Hooper and doing more to maybe get Traylon involved as well?
Well, I think we just need production from everybody. That's the key. It doesn't have to do anything with age or experience. It's just making sure that that we're all focused on the details, that everybody's working to get open, whether it's man or zone, being where they're supposed to be. And again, the quarterback has to make great decisions, be smart with the ball, be decisive. We don't necessarily look at, okay, we got to get this guy going. I mean, we're going to obviously have some things that are for guys, but we just have to make sure that everybody's in the right spot and the quarterback makes a decision.
Like I guess the number of first down runs for Derek, I mean, a lot of people are saying too predictable. But on the other hand, is it only too predictable if you don't gain enough yardage, if they don't succeed?
That's pretty much your job and my job. That's what That's what happens around, the second guessing. I mean, we've had a lot of successful, first down runs. We want to have a lot of successful first down runs and passes on Monday. And so, that's the battle that everybody wages. Especially, our focus is on Buffalo and going up there and making sure that we have a plan that whatever we do on first down, the players understand, that they believe in, and that they have an opportunity to execute it.
How big a challenge is slowing down their pass rush, and what did they do to generate so much pressure on Thursday?
They won. They didn't send a whole lot of pressure. Just give them a lot of credit for what they do. They don't do a whole lot. I mean, what they do is be fundamental, be sound. They play hard. They're very good fundamentally, very good tacklers defensively. And, those guys were able to roll guys through. They played a bunch of defensive linemen, who all had some sort of impact in the game, whether that was Vaughn on the outside, Phillips inside, Oliver, Daquan, Epinesa. They just keep rolling guys in at you.
There's 5 years in a row now you've played them. Is there almost a division-like familiarity with these guys?
Well, there's a familiarity. Got a lot of respect for Sean and the program that they have and the football team they have. It's going to be a huge challenge going on the road, and we're looking forward to it. We're excited.
In that one game that you've gotten to see their rushing attack with Saffold, what are your thoughts on, does it seem different at all with him in there for them?
Well, I mean, I think that there's some carryover from what they did last year. I think some things have changed as it relates to maybe, the scheme. Obviously Josh is a huge part of what they do running the football, but, Singletary and Moss can change, pace and they've done a nice job. Gillum has done a nice job when they put him in there blocking. They created some X-play runs out of that 21 personnel package.
You talked on Monday about a guy's, we were talking about Zach specifically, a decision as to how to get to the ball carrier, over, under, or through. How much thinking goes on in the moment or is there a little bit of film study in terms of how I might do this given the moment, and how much just happens?
Well, I think instincts are a large part of football life. Being able to understand, what situation that everybody's in. We charge these guys with making decisions, whether that's blocking somebody or running a certain route. So as a linebacker, you're going to have to make a decision, a pretty quick decision, and find out where the football is or what the blocking scheme is.
Mike, the Bills have different corners on the outside than when you guys met them last year. I guess just through one game, maybe what did you see from the guys they have?
Well, I think they're long, athletic. I think they challenged, and I think they understand what their scheme is. A very, very, very good scheme.
Like I said, the 7 pass plays, I guess, of 20-plus yards, indication, of those explosive-type plays that you guys are hoping to get more of this season?
We're going to need a lot of them on Monday. I think that's something that, we'll have to continue to work on and being able to stay balanced. And, when we throw it and there's timing, then you can have some opportunities for run after the catch, and there's other opportunities out there that we're going to have to try to take advantage of.
You talked the other day about Swain being the best blocking tight end. How is that tight end tackle relationship? How important is that both in the run blocking and also in pass pro?
Well, I think anytime you're in combination with somebody up front, whether that be a guard or tackle, center guard, tackle, tight end, or even the tight ends together, that we hope that there is a good understanding of who you're working with and the communication that goes into it. Whether a guy spikes inside or loops outside, how that two players have to work in unison to get to a player on the football or one that's off the football working to a second level player. So, hopefully we can continue to work those combinations. And, I don't think it's as much in the pass game as it would be in the run game.
With the personnel rotation, as far as like maybe Henry for Hilliard or Westbrook and Kenny for Hollister or whatever, how do you go about regulating that and just making sure that is in line with the play calls that you're making?
Sometimes you want certain guys in there for specific plays. Sometimes it doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's injuries, and then other maybe at receiver there's a rotation, just trying to keep guys fresh and roll. And then as it relates to Derek, we just have to make sure that he's getting his opportunities, but then make sure that there's guys in there that can go in there and help us when called upon.
That rotation, that is decided by, well, not decided, but facilitated by
Which
the
one are you
position
talking
coaches?
about here specifically?
I'm talking about the receivers, Henry for Hilliard.
Derek's going to play a bunch. I mean, we've made a major commitment to Derrick Henry.
Right, understood. But as far as the rotation is concerned, that's something that's up to Tony Dews. For the receivers, is that up to Rob Moore? How does that?
No, I mean, we're making sure that guys are playing and that they all have a role in the game. And then, sometimes the play call would predicate, hey, let's get these guys in here or let's get them at that position. I think that there's a lot of moving parts.
You kind of kidded on Monday just about Traylon. You'd like to see him make guys miss instead of run over him sometimes. I mean, is there a fine line there? You want the guy to show some toughness but realize maybe there's more available on a play if he makes a move? You think he's capable of doing that?
Oh, I know that he's capable of doing that. We just, it was good to see him get off to a good start, and hopefully he can build on it and use his skill set and his God-given ability. He's working hard to improve.
Where is he in terms of knowing everything, Mike?
Everything? I don't think everybody besides you knows everything, but he's working hard. Joe liked that one. It was a layup, Joe. There's a lot. There's a lot with offensive terminology and playing X or F or Z or whatever the position may be. And I know that he's studying hard. I just look at, a guy like Josh Gordon just kind of coming in and trying to learn just our system and figure it out. And these guys work hard. And so, I think Traylon, again, not without mistake or, maybe he lined up in a wrong split or somewhere. But, I think he's working hard to get a complete grasp of everything that we're doing.
What's the emotional balance between losing a guy like Anini, who could potentially help you, but feeling good about the fact that he's getting an opportunity to play?
Yeah, I would, always happy for these guys. That's what we always tell them when John and I talk to them at the end of training camp, is that we want to keep working with you. The ones that we have to release and then that we'd like to put on the practice squad. Hope that you're back for us, but I know that you want to realize that opportunity and dream of being on a 53-man roster. So wish David the best of luck.
Considering him, Mike, to adding him to the 53, did you and John talk about adding him maybe?
Without getting into a whole lot of detail, I don't know if we really had an opportunity to even do that.
The other day in Sunday's game, Phillips was able to keep drives alive, getting a couple of defensive holding penalties called. Is there a particular skill or craft to being able to draw penalties from the defense, whether it's a PI or a defensive hold?
Well, I think as you look around the league, sometimes, guys that are quicker or maybe set up a move, stem a guy, and then maybe there's some level of throwing your hands up. I mean, I think that, we talk about there's opportunities for receivers to come back to the football and try to get some of those, penalties, or obviously make the play and try to catch the football. But usually just some quick guys that are able to get guys off balance, and then they grab and restrict.
You spoke a little bit about Josh Allen, I know, on Monday, but, in terms of him getting outside of the pocket, he can use his legs, obviously. But having a guy like David Long Jr. with the speed he has to be able to get there and wrap him up, how important is that going to be just when he does move out of the pocket?
Well, everybody, as everybody's plays a role in that. It's a fine line between being able to rush him, but then also, try to corral him at places where he can't hurt you. He's got great pump fake, great stiff arm, and then the ability and the arm talent to throw the ball wherever he wants it on the move. So, we'll have to have a good plan. We'll start to, work that today, which obviously is going to be a huge part of what we're doing. And then obviously just trying to make sure that the guys are ready and expect some of the stuff that he's going to try to do.
Coach, you guys have won 8 of your last 10 Monday Night Football games. Why do you think you've had success like that during primetime games?
I don't even know. I don't know how many, we've been a part of here in the last 4 years, but, we really just try to take each week, as its own week and focus on what it's going to take to win this week and the preparation that goes into it. It's going to be a great environment. We're excited to go up there. But that's a ways away. This is our first really practice. This is like a Wednesday for us, so we're going to have to get started, and the crowd noise is going to be a factor, and we'll have to start working that operation and what we're going to do there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Just with a lot of the rookies and a lot of the rookies playing, just kind of preparing them for that type of atmosphere. A lot of them probably haven't seen that level.
Yeah, I think that that's why we practice, and we'll get ready for it, and we'll make sure that they're prepared. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Well, Jesus, Lucas, that was a What happened? You panicked? You turned the music off? You said, go.
Yeah,
what happened?
The music always just catches me off guard, even though I know it's coming every time.
So what, you just panic? You throw a couple buttons and you're waving at me frantically? That was Titans head coach Mike Vrabel.
Oh, that was jarring.
Yeah, for who?
For everybody.
So they're on the practice field for the first time this week. Mike Vrabel had a lot to say, particularly about the first down situation. Now, Ryan Tannehill is going to speak after practice, is my understanding.
Sounds like he's coming up.
Okay, so Ryan Tannehill we will have for you coming up next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
When it counted on last Sunday.
Kyle was able to keep a couple of drives alive Sunday with drawing defensive holding penalties. Do some receivers just seem to have a knack for being able to draw penalties, whether it's a PI or a defensive hold, that sort of thing?
Well, Kyle's pretty quick and pretty fast. So, I think a lot of times whenever you have a guy like Kyle and he makes the DB miss, then they panic and they try to do everything they can to not lose the rep, and sometimes that includes holding. So Kyle's done a great job, like I said, throughout training camp of beating one-on-one coverage, and he did that on Sunday. I think Buffalo has a good secondary. Their nickel is a veteran player. He's played a lot of football and is a good cover guy. So it's going to be a challenge for us to take advantage of that matchup.
For you, as far as the freedom to check at the line, right? You get the call to you as a running play, you get there, the numbers aren't in your favor. How much freedom do you have to check out of that and get you guys in a better position for a better play?
Yeah, there's always some freedom there. I think kind of depends on situation and what we're trying to accomplish. Situation of the game, situation down and distance-wise, but there's always some freedom there, and at certain times definitely try to take advantage of those situations.
When you guys go flat the way you did in the second half, what do you try to do beyond making a play? Are you saying stuff on the sideline? Are you saying stuff in the huddle to try to give an injection that boosts you back to life? What's the general reaction to those times?
I think it depends on the game, depends on the situation. Last Sunday my encouragement was just, make the plays that are there. We had some opportunities early in that second half, and we just didn't make the plays that were there. Whether it was a block, a throw, a catch, whatever the case may be. You can't miss those opportunities and expect to sustain drives and get points. So I think that's going to be, sounds cliche and obvious, but that's kind of my feeling on the sideline was, we don't got to try to do anything special. Just make the plays when the opportunity arises, and we'll be in good shape.
Ryan, you guys have, during your time here, have done a pretty good job overcoming adversity and rebounding from losses. Is there a confidence that can be taken year to year when you kind of have a track record of doing that when after you lose your first one and now playing a team as good as Buffalo?
I don't know if last year or years before matter, but I know that our culture matters and what we believe in this building matters. So I think that's what it comes down to more than anything is believing in each other and turning the page, whether last week was a win or a loss, being able to rally as a locker room and come out and get ready to go win another football game next Monday in this case. Good.
Ryan, is there an added level of excitement preparing for a primetime game for Monday Night Football?
Yeah, it's always fun. You want to take advantage of those opportunities. They don't come around a whole lot. It's not like every week you get to play in a night game. So the night game is always a little bit of extra energy in the air and a little more excitement to go with it. So look forward to it and try to take advantage of them. Thank you.
His media availability for the week. Titans about to hit the practice field in just about, I'd say, 20, 25 minutes for their first day of on-field work. Now, a couple of things. We're going to talk about some comments that Mike Vrabel made about not force-feeding players or playmakers the ball in the offense, which I thought was an interesting comment that is worth running back, because that doesn't speak to a Todd Downing issue. That speaks to a philosophical approach that, again, would be placed on the head coach. But first, Landon is in Lafayette, and all the screener says is Titans choke. What you got for us, Landon?
I want to start by saying, first off, I'm a huge Giants fan.
Okay.
And it's good to see that some things never change. The Titans just know how to choke right up there with the best of them.
Now, wait, Landon, you cannot look at the Giants and call them a picture-perfect organization really in the last 5 to 7 years.
Correct. But if we ever get in a situation, must-win game, we always win.
The Giants?
The Titans just can't find a way to win when it matters.
Wait. Are you going back to Eli Manning Super Bowl Giants? Because that's been a while. I'm not disagreeing about the Titans. I'm confused where this chest pounding as a Giants fan has come from all of a sudden.
I'm just saying that the Titans, when it matters, just can't win.
Okay,
All
but
the
what's
way
that got to
back
do
up.
with the Giants winning big games in important spots? Haven't they not won an opener in like 6 years?
That ain't a big game.
It just was for the Giants because they beat the Titans. What are you talking about, Landon? Thanks for the call. 615-737-1045. What? Was I too hard on him? Because I'm just confused.
No, you were not.
I thought I was pretty gentle.
Yes, you were actually more gentle than you typically are. The Giants are known for winning must-win games.
Well, listen,
in the last 10 years.
I wanted to know if there was something I was missing because he seemed very confident in his assessment. Now, again, I don't disagree about the Titans, but he said the Titans don't win big games. I said the Giants are 0-6 in openers. He says those aren't big games. But the Titans just lost a week 1 opener, so by definition, it's not a big game because the opponent they played is considered inferior in the Giants. What the hell was that?
I mean, I see his point that the Giants must-win games because it's been a long time since the Giants have been in relevant games that involve the playoff picture in any sense whatsoever. In fact, it's been about a decade.
All right. That was perplexing.
Like, when's the last time the Giants made the playoffs?
Was Eli Manning still the starting quarterback?
It had to be. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Daniel
because
Jones
they
has
haven't
never been
done
in the playoffs.
I need to look this up. It's been quite some time. The fact that we're having to rack our brains this way, I think, speaks to a bigger problem than anything. But in the meantime, we'll go to Liam, who's in Las Vegas. Hello, Liam.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Well.
You there?
Yeah, I said we're doing well.
Oh, good. I just, the way you can win back, Todd Downing can win back, Spans back is by letting Tannehill call his own plays. That's about the only thing I think that can win us back.
So, Liam, there's nothing Todd Downing can do this year as an offensive coordinator to make you move your position off this guy needs to go.
But his history speaks for itself. I mean, when you look at the Raiders and when he was with the Titans for a year, he just calls the wrong plays at the wrong time. I mean, he's not a good coordinator. There's nothing else he can do.
Thanks for the call, Liam. The last time the New York Giants made the playoffs, they were 11-5 in 2016. Do you know that?
I did not realize
that's not that long ago.
Not terribly long ago.
But that's the Odell Beckham
boat picture.
Yeah,
that doomed them.
They went to Green Bay and got smoked
in the first round.
Yeah, wild card.
So the last playoff win they've had, I mean, are we talking Super Bowl?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the last time they won a playoff game. So
2011.
It's been over a decade since then.
Yeah, so they won the Super Bowl in 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 without a playoff appearance. They were second, so they finished second in the NFC East. Was that the Eagles Super Bowl 2016? That sounds.
I believe so. Eagles Patriots. Yes.
Right. So they were second in the NFC East that year. Look at the NFC East.
How about that?
Showing out a little bit.
Like, should the Titans have won that game on Sunday and they lost? Yes.
Yeah.
Do the Giants win big games? Not in over a decade.
No. In fact, Daniel Jones actively tried to lose it. he threw the terrible interception right into Amani Hooker's chest. Like, this is why I'm not that bent out of shape. One, like I said, the result does not really affect me unless they suck, and then you guys check out and I lose you in November, and that's not great when I've got a radio show that that we're doing really well, and I would hate to see you guys dry up because your football team does. So in that sense, yeah, there's a vested interest to a degree, but I'm not bent out of shape about what they did on Sunday because I think it's so minuscule in the larger sense of things. Yes, it is one of 17 games. But the boneheaded 3rd and 1 is with Chig is the only thing that I'm really looking at Todd and being like, yeah, that was kind of goofy. Like, don't do that again. But if Derek doesn't bobble the snap on his Wildcat carry, he probably gets some first down. That's not a great job by Derek. It's okay to criticize the best players, too. I'm not saying Todd Downing's perfect. I think he leaves some things to be desired, but also, do you have this Vrabel clip of him talking about what they're looking for in terms of feeding the playmakers in the offense? Because that was one of the quotes that stood out to me. Let's hear from the head coach.
Well, I think we just need production from everybody. That's the key. It doesn't have to do anything with age or experience. It's just making sure that that we're all focused on the details, that everybody's working to get open, whether it's man or zone, being where they're supposed to be. And again, the quarterback has to make great decisions, be smart with the ball, be decisive. We don't necessarily look at, okay, we got to get this guy going. I mean, we're going to obviously have some things that are for guys, but we just have to make sure that everybody's in the right spot and the quarterback makes a decision.
So am I correct in hearing that Mike Vrabel and the Titans' offensive philosophy doesn't focus on, okay, at some point, Treylon Burks needs more targets. Let's dial up some more targets for Treylon Burks within the concepts and the packages that Treylon Burks is able to run. Did I translate that correctly? Because that's the way it came off to me.
I think that's the way it came off. And, I mean, the Titans have had the opposite of that mentality, right? San Francisco, Thursday Night Football. How many targets did A.J. Brown have?
That's Tannehill, though. Like, that's us not knowing what his progressions are on a play and then saying, okay, what's the Joe Burrow line? Bleep it, Jamar's open.
Yeah.
Right? Like that at a certain Daniel Jones 65-yard touchdown pass to Sterling Shepard was a bleep it. Sterling's open. Like, that's not a part of his progression. So some of that we don't have full knowledge of to be able to make a determination and say, all right, this is what the Titans are doing versus this is what Tannehill's reading and saying, okay, quick, let's find AJ. AJ will make a play. Because I feel like he kind of did that with Phillips a little bit. I'd be curious how many times Kyle Phillips was the first read on those. And a couple of times, frankly, Tannehill tried to force it into Phillips where it wasn't going to work. There's one incompletion in particular where Tannehill kind of threw it low to Phillips and just missed Nick Whisper-Kikina drifting behind him on an over route. That stood out to me as, okay, he's looking for his guy that he knows is going to make a play. Maybe a little too much focus on that at the time. And I think if I had to, I wish somebody would ask to follow up, and I didn't think about it until we just ran the clip back. But I guess the question would be for Vrabel, well, why not? Why not feed guys if you think that's going to be the best thing to get you going? Is that a situation where you don't want Ryan to lock in on a certain guy like that and you want him to continue to go through the progression of the play call? Or is there something else I'm missing there? Because I think that one is going to perk up Titans fans' ears who are looking at Treylon Burks playing. The game book had him at 24 offensive snaps, and Next Gen Stats had him at 22. So I don't know where the 2 snaps are getting lost there. But either way, like, you would look at him playing in 37 some odd % of the offense and say, yeah, get him going more. Why only 3 catches? Why only 6 targets? Target him more. And I think that works counter to what Mike is trying to do. That, I think, gets lost in a lot of stuff. This is why Greg Cosell is going to explain this to you in the noon hour in ways that hopefully he does a better job translating, for lack of a better term, than I do. Because I feel like that's been my approach to this all week long. It's just kind of like, yeah, I got a problem with the 3rd and 1, but everything else, they had 7 passing completions of 20-plus yards. Derek's numbers were not bad. Like, not a bad job by Derrick Henry. I thought he could have been better. I thought that Lawan didn't play overwhelmingly well. I thought Brewer's holding penalties were not good. I thought there was a couple of different things that you have to hone in on and say, oh, it goes beyond just the play call. But I'm sure people are going to take that as caping up. Go to Grover in Nashville up next. What's up?
Hey, man, so my question is, let's assume Downing's not the guy. What does it take for Vrabel to pull the trigger? And would he do it, like, in the middle of the season? Or is this one of those things where he waits until end of the year and has to get pressure from the top and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, it would take utter implosion, like them finishing well below 500 and the offense looks like hell and Tannehill's a disaster and the first-round pick isn't being utilized correctly. And, like, I think it would take abject failure for them to do anything in season. And even if it comes to, like, the play calling in game or in season, Because I've had people ask me the question, well, why not let Tim Kelly get a crack at it? Right? Mike wanted to interview Tim Kelly. We don't know if he would have hired Tim Kelly for the OC job when Downing ended up getting it, but they never had the opportunity to interview him because he was still on the Texans staff, and the Texans said, no, we're not going to let you interview for the Titans, you dope. Get out of here. You're going to ride out this David Culley bleep storm like the rest of us, and then we'll fire you like we do all the rest of the coaches. I don't think that. One, again, I don't think they'd tell us if they did it. Like Vrabel and Dean Pease in the AFC Championship game, where Wesley Woodyard is famously still not crazy about the idea that Mike took over the play calling in the AFC Championship game, as opposed to what they did in Baltimore, and that's been roundly discussed on these airwaves. He's not going to do it because Mike does not think that they did a bad job on offense. That, I think, is the disconnect between the conversation you, me, and everybody on the internet is having and how the coaching staff is going to look at it. The coaching staff is going to look at it and be like, yeah, we're pretty efficient on first down, both pass and run. How about that? Let's keep it going. They're a running first football team. So we're going to be shocked that Derrick Henry got 18 first down carries? No. Now, again, 3rd and 1. Just give it to him. It's not that hard. But that's the one that is the only moment where I was like, oh, okay, not great. I wouldn't have done that. You probably shouldn't do that either. I think in a moment it would be like Nathaniel Hackett. He'd look back at it and say, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. What a great idea. But, yeah, Todd Downing's not going anywhere unless, like, literally the sky offensively just collapses in on you and your season ends in great distress and the Jags win the AFC South, which would objectively be hilarious, I might add. Let's go to Jake, who's in Boston. What's up, Jake?
Look, happy Thursday. I got 2, so I'll keep it quick. I think the thing that gets lost in the Downing discussion, especially when people reflect back to his time in Oakland, he didn't get a year 2 because Gruden got that wild contract and he canned the whole staff.
Oh, yeah. No, they got run out of town. Like that staff was people are looking at Todd Downing and the Raiders staff getting fired under Del Rio, but they were getting fired anyway because the owner had was very, very interested in, to use more FCC safe terms, in John Gruden.
Yeah, exactly. So you look at that, right? And I don't think he's Art Smith, but people wanted Bowen out of town after getting waxed by Arizona in week 1 last year, and that turned out fine. So you got to give him a year 2, I think, because, anybody who watches his team and knows Vrabel knows he's not going anywhere. The other one, I think you've missed a huge opportunity this week to play up a potential worst-case scenario for the Titans on Monday night, because the Eagles and Vikings are playing, I think it starts at like 8:30, of the Titans not covering the spread, getting beat by 20, and AJ going for like 200+. Because I'm dead inside because he's gone, but it would be kind of funny. I'll hang up. Have a great day.
Why do you hate these people, Jake? Why would I do that to them? He said I'm missing an opportunity to lean in to make these people's lives worse? No, Jake, you sadist. Stop it. I love that Jake is we have a couple of callers have gotten us from Boston, but Jake like consistently calls us from Boston. That has to be the Boston sports fan in him that's just like, all right, let everything burn and let's light up the phone lines on Monday and have a day. Because that's the only reason I would assume that he wants to see AJ have a big day and the Titans get beat by 20 against Buffalo. Let me pose this to the room. Jackson, Will Bowling is for some reason in here. Lucas Panzik is here. Hi, bud. Your microphone's got to turn on.
Hello. What's up?
How are you?
I'm good.
What you doing?
I'm just vibing.
Okay.
You know how I beat. No, I'm just quoting Michael Scott here
Good
within about
God.
10 seconds. But no, I have to do like digital meetings with you about like things about your podcasts and things that you need from me.
In the middle of a segment?
No, we're not. I mean, you're about to not be in a segment.
You don't know that?
If you hit your break time.
Well,
he's got a point.
Shut up. Both of you.
I'm not wrong.
If the Titans don't have every offensive coordinator that they hire go on to be a head coach, does that mean he's a bad coordinator? Is that under Mike Vrabel? Matt LaFleur, head coach. Art Smith, head coach. If Todd Downing isn't like head coach material, but he's not terrible, is that like the end of the world? Or is he just not head coach material and like one of the best 32 offensive minds in the sport? Because I think that's kind of the thing that we're running into. A little bit of entitlement. Little bit of entitlement, it would seem.
People don't want Todd Downing to be a head coach. They just want to see an efficient offense that scores points.
Yeah, no, they don't care about his next job. I'm just saying, like, I had it pointed out to me several times, well, if Todd Downing's so good at offense, then why isn't the league trying to hire him?
Right, it's the Greg Schiano thing. Nobody else is trying to hire Schiano.
I like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, it's not
That's a high bar.
It is a high bar. But that's the standard. What's the comparison? Oh, he's no Art Smith. Yeah, maybe he's not a head coach in the NFL. Maybe not. But they're not bad offensively. Like, that's the thing that I get kind of caught up on. They did the explosive plays in the passing game thing. They were hugely efficient with their first down passing game. They lost the damn game, and that sucks for them and you and everybody involved with this who's going to let their emotions get bent out of shape about a football team. But point being, it's not a fireable offense, and I think that's where the line needs to be drawn.
Ultimately, Mike Vrabel tried to follow the exact same formula of your 20-0 win over Jacksonville last year. When up by 2 scores at halftime in a shutout game, you sat on it, you ran the football, you were conservative and said, hey, with an interception-prone quarterback last year, the last thing I'm going to do is put the foot on the gas pedal and throw one of the defense and give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
Problem is, with more young guys in the secondary and you're relying on a Harold Landry-less defense, you made 2 mistakes that you can't make and you gave team life. And that's the difference between that team Sunday and that team against Jacksonville last year.
Like, I bet, okay, we can talk about this coming up next. Will apparently needs to talk to me about something digitally. Your phone calls are welcome, too. There's a bunch of them. We'll get to them next. The last thing that was said into my headset before I turned my microphone on, it was Will's fault, not yours. What are you doing back there?
We went late.
Shady.
We had an intruder.
There's no boundaries. I don't operate well in a space like this.
Well, he came in and he criticized you because he said you got to go to break, and he was absolutely right.
And then he started talking about Mike Vrabel's third down defensive
Todd
strategy.
Downing.
Get the hell out of here. Let's go to Steven in Chicago. Callers all over the place today. Hello, Steven.
Well, I'm actually from Clarksville. I just travel often.
Okay.
But have you guys seen the article that the Raiders beat writer put out when the Titans promoted Todd Downing to offensive coordinator?
It doesn't ring a bell. What was the publication? Do you happen to remember?
It was one of their main ones. I feel like it was Black and Silver or something. But it basically talks about Jack Del Rio got fired because he promoted Todd Downing to offensive coordinator.
No, Steven, that's not accurate. Jack Del Rio got fired because not John Gruden. Who's the owner? Which Davis is it?
Oh gosh,
not Al.
Mark Davis?
Mark Davis.
Yeah,
Mark Davis sounds right. Mark Davis was drooling. He was googly-eyed for John Gruden. He gave him a 10-year, $100 million contract for a cash-poor organization because he wanted John Gruden's dopey face, which ended up being deeply problematic later on billboards in Vegas. Not because Todd Downing got promoted. Is he still there?
Yeah, what are you pointing at me for?
Oh, I thought it looked like he was still on the line. I thought he had to respond. Steven, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Yeah, all right. My bad. I was talking. I didn't realize that. But it still kind of repeats the same sentiment of what all of us Titans fans are saying about Downing now. I know that we're a run-first team and everything else, and we ran the ball 19 times with Henry and then only 3 times on second and third down. I saw when I rewatched the game that it was 7 minutes left in the second quarter. The announcer said that the Titans have still yet to run the ball on third down at that point. It's the predictability is the problem with Todd Downing. He can scheme good stuff. Those Hilliard plays were good stuff.
That was an incredible. You don't run a route like that, a go route out of the backfield like that, unless you've got the personnel to do it. You don't see that schemed up a lot.
Right. But it's the predictability that's the crazy stuff about it. And sometimes I think it's so egregiously consistent with, the predictability that I think they do it on purpose so that when they play like the Bills next week, they have no idea what they're expecting. And then that's how we beat them.
Thanks for the call, Steven. He brings up an interesting point, though, because predictability is something that Todd gets hammered with. But what's the talking point this week?
I mean, I understand the gripe with predictability, but if Todd Downing's running the ball on 3rd and 4, Titans fans are in here screaming about how he's running the ball on 3rd down.
No. If the criticism is predictability, what has been the biggest talking point this week? He didn't do the predictable thing. He gave it to a rookie tight end on a 3rd and 1 end around, not to Derrick Henry. So he did the unpredictable thing, and he is getting slaughtered for it this week.
That's one play, though.
No. I don't think it's just I think you could go back. I don't have games charted on hand. I've done it in the weeks leading after games, but I bet if you went through some circumstantial calls that Todd was put in, and this is not a defense. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm not saying that you're wrong, by the way. I'm just saying that you have to consider what the criticism is and then also look at what he's being criticized for. Predictability is the criticism, and the guy gave the rookie tight end an end around on 3rd and 1. You can't have it both ways. Now, yes, would you like every decision to be a good one and for it to be well-timed? Sure, but that's not how this works. So I've had a couple days to stew on this, and again, it's not getting through for me. So I'm going to have Greg Cosell explain it to you in the next segment. Because Greg, when I put in front of Greg, they're running the ball a lot on 3rd. This is why I feel this way, because Greg walked me through it, and he will do so for you in just a little while. When I said that they were running the ball a lot on 1st down, he just kind of looked at me and been like, yeah, I mean, they're the Titans. They have Derrick Henry, you dope. And then he explained to me exactly why he thought that they were going to go back and self-scout and be like, yeah, we're in a good spot. Josh, And Nashville is next.
It's John. Thank you, Buck.
Sorry, John.
Ain't no problem, man. I just got a comment for that delusional Giants fan, Landon, talking about Titans cannot win big games. I think we've won more big games in the past 5 years than they've won games in the past 5 years.
John, what was I supposed to do with that guy? Like, I'm so
mad I hammered him, cuz. Oh my God! I'll take up your slack though, Landon. Maybe we didn't win that game because it wasn't a big game for us. That was pretty much just an extended preseason game to the stupid Giants. I hope somebody slapped you with a brick today.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
We were having a nice time.
We were doing Nashville sports talk radio, and then all of a sudden it turned into Lincoln, Nebraska again, and the guy screaming about boar hunting and bloody knuckles.
I do love that Landon in Lafayette, Tennessee is a big Giants fan talking about how the Titans choke.
I'm convinced that's a made-up name. Landon in Lafayette.
No. It's not made up. He just became a Giants fan after they beat Tom Brady and the Patriots in the 2007 Super Bowl.
That's better than like so anytime somebody asks me about the radio show and I talk about callers, I always use the example Leroy and Pulaski. It's not a real person. It just makes me laugh, you know?
Well, if you call in, you tell me Landon in Lafayette with a tinge of a Southern accent saying that you're a big Giants fan, you lose a lot of credibility. I'm sorry. It's just like just instinctually, you're going to lose credibility.
All Landon wanted to do was call a sports talk radio show today. Now he's getting dragged across the surface of the sun.
Big New York guy, Landon in Lafayette.
That's what. Those damn Yankees.
What's your favorite pizza joint in Manhattan, Landon in Lafayette?
Manhattan, Kansas? Greg Cosell is going to explain why you're being too hard on Todd Downing next.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Pittsburgh Steelers are signing outside linebacker David Aneni to their 53-man roster from the Titans practice squad. According to a report by Field Yates, the Steelers have added pass rusher TJ Watt to IR with a pec injury. Meanwhile, the Titans picked up outside linebacker Jerry Green, adding him to the practice squad. Green, drafted in 2019 in the 6th round by Indianapolis, a former Mississippi State teammate of Jeffrey Simmons. He has never played in a regular season game in his NFL career. Week 2 in the NFL starts tonight on Thursday Night Football, an AFC West matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers from Arrowhead Stadium. Chargers will be without wide receiver Keenan Allen tonight. The Chiefs without kicker Harrison Butker. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Third down, third hour. Welcome in, welcome back. Got a lot of Titans talk to get to here on 104.5 The Zone. We're with you till 1 o'clock. Jump in if you like. There's still some phone calls to get to. Some open lines open, though. 615-737-1045 is the number. Open locker room right now. Titans on the practice field here in about 10 minutes, I'd say. And then they'll get their on-field first day of work before Buffalo. Some of you guys were getting after at least in the Zone TV chat, some people seem bothered by the idea that it's the first day of on-field work for the Titans and it's Thursday. So Monday Night Football schedule. Like, it's collectively bargained that they can't have more than 3 days of on-field work, and Friday's usually just like a walkthrough. So just move everything a day down the line, and it's going to be okay. Because remember, you play a day later. Crisis averted. So, speaking of crisis, Todd Downing, a lot of angst, a lot of anger. One game. Now you would say to me, well, offensive coordinator all last year, so it's not just one game. But it really is. It's really just one game. Because at least from a coaching staff standpoint, they're not going to count very much of what happened last year into this year's sample size. This is a real-world, real season evaluation for all of them. For Tannehill, for Henry, I guess not Mike and John because they just got contract extensions, but you get my point. So, Todd Downing, bad decision-making in one critical spot that I found egregious. Chickaconquo, 3rd and 1. All right, that's enough. They did not have success early because I think people felt they got too cute on their first drive of the second half where they go 3 and out. And, again, I'd say Derek wasn't paying attention when the snap came, bobbled the snap, got caught off guard, was looking at the cutback, tackle for loss, and a punt. So you can go back and retroactively criticize or retroactively game plan those specific situations all you want, and largely look at the Titans' predictability on first down and be like, well, still, why are they running Derrick Henry on 1st and 10, and why so few carries in short yardage situations? Well, we played that clip from Mike Vrabel earlier about feeding players within the offense and how they're really not going to go about doing it that way. So when I talked to Greg Cosell yesterday in the latest episode of The Install, plug, rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It's a really good one. They all are, but, I'm biased. I asked Greg about, all right, were they kind of predictable to you on first down? And Greg kind of looked at me funny and said, oh, let me tell you about what they did on first down.
Well, again, first of all, they had great success on first down, both running the ball and throwing the ball. Henry was 17 for 73 on first down. Now, that's 4.3 yards a rush, which every coach would take. What was lacking in this game was there were really no big explosive runs by Henry. He had an 18-yarder, and other than that, there were no real big runs, which I think everybody just gets used to him making every game, Buck. But there weren't those in this game. So 17 for 73, is pretty good. Now, Tannehill was 9 for 10 for 135 and 2 TDs, with 6 of those completions resulting in first downs. So, yes, you could look at those numbers and say, wow, they should throw it more. But, my guess is that when they evaluate this game and their first down plays and their first down approach, they're going to feel pretty good about it within the context of what they do. They are a running football team first and foremost. I don't think fans in Nashville would probably say, let's stop giving the ball to Derrick Henry. So overall, I think their first down ratio was probably what they would like, and they were very successful on first down.
So when Greg says, yeah, they're going to go back and look at their first down tape and be like, yeah, that's good. We got that figured out. It's all good. What do you think that does to the average Titans fan this week? Probably puts them in knots. Probably gives them a stomachache. And then they'll get on Twitter, they'll hit Fire Todd Downing with the hashtag, and on the cycle goes. And it'll be a different screw-up next week that's criticized. They may win, they may lose. We'll see what happens. Who's to say? But when Greg put it to me like that, he goes, look at Saquon Barkley's runs. Now, you can't take away the explosive runs, but oftentimes explosive runs are a result of defensive breakdowns as opposed to the offense doing a thing so above and beyond well that Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, whomever, has a 65, 70-yard, 75-yard touchdown run, whatever. So what Greg went on to say, and you can listen for more offensive analysis later on, not offensive, but offensive analysis later on in the show. Greg said, yeah, the difference between the game is Saquon Barkley had the Derrick Henry game and Derrick didn't. That was the difference from Greg's standpoint. Now, he's just watching tape. And he did a little bit on the third and one. He said, yeah, I'm not going to rip coaches because they made a call. Now, would I have made that call? Probably not. But, again, I come back to the idea, predictability is something that Todd Downing is slaughtered over. And the thing that is the biggest flashpoint coming out of the last week's result is the play where he did the least predictable thing. 615-737-1045. Mahogany is in Nashville up next.
Hey, what's going on, Buck? How you doing today?
I'm good, boss.
Hey, so I think my issue with Downing, and I think it's more possibly affected by Vrabel in a sense, too, is the predictability is not in the play calls to me. It's more so in the personnel grouping. Because I feel a lot of times you'll see Hollister and NWI out there, and you'll see Swaim out there, and it's like, oh, they're about to run the ball. It's like...
Yeah, but wait, Mahogany, that same formation was a 22-yard pass to Hollister.
And to be fair, I'll give them that. I'm not going to kill him for that because it was a successful play. But at the same time, like, any other time you'd see that, it's like, oh, they're about to run the ball, and 95% of the time they're going to run the ball. So I'll take away the predictability aspect and saying, oh, they threw the ball to Hollister this time and it was successful. But a lot of times personnel grouping, 9 times out of 10, you can tell what they're about to do. And I think that's my biggest issue with, the play calling and the offense in general. It's telegraphed almost.
I appreciate the call. And, I'm sure that's something a lot of people feel. So there's 2 ways that you can look at that. You can say, well, that's on Todd. And, he's coordinating the offense, right? That's whose responsibility it is. You could say, well, it's also on Mike Vrabel to an extent, because that's philosophically the way that they like to do it. What did Mike just say in his press conference? Yeah, we're not necessarily going to force feed targets or force feed rushes. We're going to play within the scope of the offense, and everybody needs to be expected to produce. So when Mike says that, up against the criticism of predictability, well, let's factor in a third thing, shall we? Is Derrick not the most predictable player in football? Just from a standpoint of what's coming, you know how it's going to hurt, you know that it can go for an explosive at any given point. It can happen at any time. And that the thing they're going to do is try to get explosive plays out of the running game in a way that not a lot of teams do. So if Derrick's the most predictable player in the sport, and he's not a pass catcher, okay, fine. Screens every once in a while. Flare passes every once in a while. Getting him in space. Not a natural cat. He's not what he can't run that Hilliard route, right? That go route out the backfield that you have to understand landmarks, timing, and spacing to be able to execute. Dontrell Hilliard did that nicely. Todd Downing schemed it up for him. It's not a play you see from a lot of NFL offenses, and that's not being discussed. Again, I come back to the idea. This is not anything but devil's advocate. Like, you have to look at all sides of these things because that's the way the coaching staff is going to do it. And they're going to come back and say, okay, like, Derek is our best playmaking ability right now. And if also we get 7 passing completions of 20-plus yards, as they did, then that gives us the thing to win the game. Saquon Barkley had the Derrick Henry stat line. Saquon Barkley had the Derrick Henry explosives. The Giants' defense held up better than the Titans' defense than it did when it came to fundamentally making tackles that prevented those explosive plays from happening. Derrick got an 18-yarder in there. I don't think he had another one over 10. But we've seen Derrick have that game before. They can't solely rely on Derrick to be able to provide that. Although in this one, the difference was, he didn't have the explosive run. Let's go one more for Jedi before we get into something a little different. What's up, Jedi?
Hey, enjoy the show, Buck.
Thank you.
Long-suffering Titans fan, kicking game. We catch a punt, make a field goal, we get the W. I mean, how many times have we seen that as Titans fans? That's everything else aside. 238 yards rushing, that's unacceptable. Bud Dupree makes 1 tackle, that's unacceptable. In the end of the first half, Derek runs the ball to the 47. There's a face mask not called. That would have put us at the 32 going in at the end of the half, probably the ball game. But it's just, that's the kicking game is just always my most frustrating part with the Titans. Thanks. Enjoy the show.
Thanks very much, Jedi. I appreciate the call. So we'll get more of your phone calls because there's one question I want to ask you about Todd Downing, and I'll be curious to hear your response. Can he do anything to win you back? Like, are you just done for the year? Even if they end up making the playoffs and Tannehill looks good statistically and Derek does well enough to potentially earn an extension as he got money moved around last year, no guaranteed money this year. Like, if everything is slightly above status quo from last season, are you gonna feel the same way about Todd Downing, even though your offense performed by any measure well? Is there anything you can do to salvage this relationship, or are you, as a Titans fan, just done? Because I want to dig into that a little bit deeper. We'll do that next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Praise is pouring in. Now, it's not, I'm doing the thing that Lucas does with the YouTube chat where I've selected one particular comment that's speaking to this effect. Just the one, but it made me laugh. Jacob Scott, at jscott_8, tweets us. You can tweet the show at Buck Rising, at Lucas Panzica. Buck Rising must have gotten some hot water today because he's trying to save face. Talking about Todd Downing in the offense. Lucas, you didn't hear the exchange Blaine Bishop and I just had during the commercial break, did you?
I heard part of it when I was walking down the hall, but Blaine's been saying on Blaine and Mickey for days since the game. He came in and was like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. That is the Titans offense we saw all of last year. Acting like everybody's saying it looks different or it looks this much worse and that much worse.
And what he just said to me is, they gave up 238 rushing yards on defense and ever has been about the 3rd and 1.
They haven't given up that many yards rushing on defense since 2018. They didn't give up 200 rush yards on defense once all of last season. They gave up over 100 rushing yards in a game on defense 3 total times last season.
So to Jacob, I would say, well, okay, is it telling you something that you don't want to hear because you want to throw a hissy anyway? Because that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting, And like that, I'm just tired of. I got no energy for that. Why do you have the energy for that? You're just trying to assign blame because somebody's got to take the blame. And listen, we play the blame game. It is literally by nature of what we do. We come back with the results. We say they did this, and this wrong. This is why they lost the game. 615-737-1045 and on the Sports Radio Monster goes, right? But when I explain it to you, and when I have smart football people explain to you, I didn't make the argument. Greg Cosell did. Does Greg have an agenda when it comes to the Titans? No, Greg doesn't give a damn. He's out there. He watched the Titans game on Red Zone, then came back, studied the film, and said, yeah, they blew the explosive plays, and they didn't get the same amount from Derek. And it's Todd Downing's fault? No. That's the thing I think that gets lost in the shuffle. Because Shane Bowen and Todd Downing are not parallel situations, but Shane Bowen was in the exact same spot from a scrutiny standpoint that Downing is now, right? With much, much, much worse results. So, why are we not distinguishing between those two circumstances? Because now Shane Bowen gets off clean because the defense gave up 238 yards. It's not Shane Bowen's fault. They missed tackles, and Saquon's a horse. The professional athletes are allowed to get hot from time to time. That's what happened with Saquon. And I hope for his sake he goes on to continue to look like that season because it was a lot of fun to watch. Matthew is in Nashville up next. Hello, Matthew.
Hey, Buck. How's it going?
Going great, bud.
I wanted to point out that it may not all be on Downey, and he's been on my bad side since the playoff game. I think there was a ton of bad play calls in that playoff game last year. But I think some of the blame is going to get pointed at John Robinson eventually throughout the year because they don't have A.J. Brown. And not having Brown means everybody's going to key on Henry. And if they can't run the ball, then I don't see how they're going to score points at all the rest of this year, pretty much.
Yeah, 20's below league average. And AJ went off. You're working against narratives. But here's the thing that I'm differentiating from this point. I'm talking about the Giants game. And my guy just brought up the Bengals again. Todd Downing coached against the Giants on Sunday. The Bengals game, they made bad decisions. Tannehill looked horrendous. They lost the game. I don't care about the Bengals game anymore. I don't care about that season anymore. Now, if you want to hold that against Todd, that's well within your rights. I'm not telling you can't. I'm just telling you it's silly. Because the mistakes made in the Giants game were not the same mistakes that were made in the Bengals game. So I'm kind of looking at this and saying people are going to be upset no matter how many different times we tell them that, yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. And that you end up on the wrong side of a 1-point loss. And 20 points is below league average, to be sure. To be sure. I don't know if A.J. Brown makes a clear and obvious difference that way. I know he sure as hell would help. And that Treylon Burks isn't A.J. yet. And that Treylon Burks, could do with some more targets and could do with some more snaps, as I'm sure he'll get them as he earns those responsibilities. And some of that's philosophically what the coaching staff is going to do, right? Remember Caleb Farley being the last corner on the depth chart his rookie year before all the injuries? And everybody looked around and said, oh, ridiculous. Caleb Farley's the sixth best corner. He's either a bust or the coaching staff is stupid. No, they're putting him sixth on the unofficial depth chart because he's a rookie, and they're like, yeah, earn it. Earn it. All these different things that run up against what we think is common sense that the coaching staff is going to look at as neutrally as humanly possible. It's not defending your boys when it comes to Mike Vrabel and Todd Downing. It is a philosophical approach from Mike about what he wants his offense to look like that Todd Downing is going to run through that prism, through that playbook. That's absolutely so. But beyond that, what was it Glennon said to Vrabel in the press conference, Lucas? Where he mentioned, a lot of criticisms about running on first down. How do you kind of receive those? And Mike's like, yeah, it's the difference between your job and my job. Your job is to figure it out after the fact, and my job is to figure out how to do it better next time. So I don't know. Am I spinning my wheels here? Like, do you feel like we're having a productive conversation? Because I feel like it's almost like we did this with Kaepernick, where I was super engaged, but nobody was changing their opinion on any of this. Where I was like, maybe it's productive to have a conversation. And then it was completely unproductive to have the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain things that, like, we don't have to dismiss. I agree that we don't need to talk about the Bengals game. Like, it was in January. We don't care. But if people feel like they see the same issues, then it's reasonable to talk about it.
Sure.
Because if Blaine Bishop's in here and he's been saying all week, like, this is the same Titans offense that we saw last year.
But Blaine's not blaming it on the offense.
I understand. Right. But people that might also have that argument. So they will cite the Bengals game of, in the most critical situation in that game, you need a field goal to win the game, and you basically have a two-man route, and you throw an interception on the final game. 3rd and 4 near the goal line against the Giants. The play action where Derrick Henry doesn't even look for the football. Ryan Tannehill sticks it out to nobody.
It was a bad play design.
Nobody's open.
Bad play design.
Tries to dump it off to Henry, who drops it. Doesn't matter. He wouldn't have gained anything anyway.
Correct.
Like, people see sort of the similarities there, and they think back to the Bengals game. They think back to that final play where Tannehill threw that third pick. They think about that play against the Giants where Derrick Henry drops it on 3rd and 4, and it's a bad play design. It wasn't going anywhere.
My argument is it's not just one person. Like the play design in the red zone with the Derrick Henry, what was considered a drop pass by Derrick, but it's not a ball he really ever had a chance at.
Doesn't matter.
And Tannehill looked at him way late because he had nothing open on the progressions. Like there was nothing there. And so he looks at Derrick too late. Derrick's rolling out of bounds. It just kind of bounces off his hands. Oh, 4th drop.
Well, and he kind of had, 2 options to begin with anyway. The field's cut in half when he sticks the ball out for play action, and there's no running back to sell the play action. He rolls right, and there's nothing.
Lucas gets it, and what we were saying. No, it's not that I don't understand your arguments. It's that I'm providing you context for the things that happen. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. Doesn't matter to me whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. All I'm saying is there is a blame being assigned to one person, and I find that to be utterly ridiculous when there are as many different moving parts on a football field as there is. It's not because you want Todd to do a better job next time. It's because you want him out. You want him out. That's the difference. This week 1. You guys are going to be like this all football season? That sounds insufferable. That sounds like a terrible way to experience your team. I'm not saying you're not justified in being mad when they lose. You sure as hell can be. For those of you who spend money on them, for those of you who are season ticket holders, I don't know how much of your budget every year goes to gear or, swag or signed footballs or whatever. Like, fans are entitled to be angry when their team does not perform. All I'm saying is, are you sure you're angry at the right thing specifically? Let's go to, how about Efat? Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. In Lafayette. What's up? Ifat?
Yeah, this is Isaac. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I butchered the pronunciation. I said it 4 different ways.
Oh, you're fine.
Go ahead.
No, I was just calling to talk about Landon's perspective on the Giants, which was completely wrong.
The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, I think it's unreal how he's still like living in 2000, like the 2012 era, which is that he just seems like that kind of guy that would be like hop on the Dodgers bandwagon, the Celtics bandwagon that would just go for teams that are winning and all that. And let's be real, the Giants suck. They're terrible, right? So we look at the Titans and everything. I feel like the Titans are a playoff contender. I think they're a Super Bowl contender. I think we've got a few kinks in the offense that we've got to get worked out. But I think once we do, and everybody gets settled in, Derrick Henry gets back to normal, our offensive coordinator, he gets his things in line, and Tannehill gets on a roll. I'm a big Tannehill guy, and I think once he gets his things in line, then I think the Titans are going to be Super Bowl contenders. They're going to be very dangerous come late football time.
Thanks for the call. Look, they're hitting it on the nose, man. They're not letting you have any run on this music. Do you feel thwarted?
No, that's the whole point of it.
I know, but every once in a while we want one.
Yeah. Just one.
Just one. I think that, so here's what it boils down to me. Because he's saying that he still thinks the Titans are Super Bowl contenders, and it's easier, like the lines are popping off because everybody's been out of shape about this. They have been since Sunday. It's Thursday. It's cool. Lucas is miserable back there.
No, I got Jackson fielding calls.
Oh, look at you. You sloughed it off.
Fantastic.
Look at you, big boss man back there. Poor Jackson. He's a week and a half into his sports radio career, and he's dealing with this.
It's initiation.
This is our version of hazing.
Yes.
The phone calls, the screening. Here's what it boils down to me, okay? Because either you're not bothered by the Titans, you think they're going to be fine, and Super Bowl contenders, like the caller just said, or you're pissed off about Todd Downing. Are you actually worried about your football team after 1 week, or are you just throwing a hissy? Because I'm willing to hear both sides of this, and I am totally down for looking at each individual play, saying good decision, bad decision, here's where they failed, here's where they should have done better, and I have my opinions on how they should structure their philosophy. And you know who doesn't give a damn about that? Your coaching staff. Like, I don't care what I think. I don't care that I want them to throw it on every first down and not give Derrick Henry the ball on 1st and 10 every time. They don't care that I go crazy. I go crazy in the press box when they run it on 2nd and 10. Even though their efficiency numbers, they would say, are pretty good on 2nd and 10. It drives me insane. They don't care about that. So are you overwhelmingly concerned about the Titans' direction right now? Truly. Or do you look at this and say, all right, I mean, yeah, they were dopes. They lost by 1. Got a game against Buffalo. Pretty good against Buffalo. Coaching staff, are they good or are they bad? More often than not, solid. Do you trust them to be put in a good position? Yeah, I would say Mike Vrabel has probably earned that benefit of the doubt. Do you fundamentally disagree with Mike's philosophy about how they run the football on 1st down? My answer is yes. Your answer can be whatever you think it needs to be. Because if you said, yes, I disagree with the way that they run it, they're going to look at you and say, well, Derrick Henry, run the damn ball. You guys love the hats. You don't want us to do it? I'd say, no, run it on short yardage, and there would be an argument that breaks out from there. It's never ending, the different matriculations of this stuff. And there's always going to be a response one way or the other. Doesn't mean you have to have every answer, but it's just about taking it piece by piece and trying to figure out what the root problem is. Spencer in Clarksville is next. Hey, Spencer.
Hello, you hear me?
I sure do.
Yes, sir. I just want to speak on the guy that just called from Lay Flat and Landon that called in about the Giants.
All right, everybody's out for Landon's blood today.
Well, no, that ain't the case. I'm on Landon's side, believe it or not.
All right, what you got?
I heard you mention the fact that Titans lost by 1. Personally, I don't see it that way. After halftime, they got outscored by 14, as I see, or 13, however many it was.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, and the Giants, you mentioned preseason. Personally, I think every team facing the Titans this year are going to think, oh, well, this is a preseason game for us because Derrick Henry did not like to pass Derrick Henry at all. He looked washed.
You thought Derrick looked washed?
All game. Well, not necessarily washed, but.
Well, you just said washed, Spencer.
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 He's about 3 steps down.
Spencer.
He's 3 steps down from last year.
Okay. You can't.
We're in mid-season 4,
All right.
baby.
What am I? Okay. Thank you for the call, Spencer. 615-737-1045. What? It's like Landon. Well, Titans don't win big games, but week 1 doesn't matter. But the Titans lost in week 1, so it doesn't matter? Derrick Henry's washed. Derrick Henry's washed? Well, I don't mean washed. Does anybody care about whether their words matter or not? Does anybody care at all? I think it's and this is a problem in my industry for sure, where the highest levels of dialogue after a Cowboys loss, do you see? So the two highest paid entities in what it is that we do, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless. Do you see how both of them reacted to the Cowboys game?
Glee.
Well, one glee. It's just the height of sports talk professionalism is just Stephen A. on camera after a Cowboys game cackling. Like, no words, no argument, no breakdown of where Mike McCarthy screwed up on 3rd and 7. It's just him cackling. And on the other side is Skip, Cowboys fan. And he puts on a pouty face. He makes a weird point at his shoes or whatever. Can't lose in these shoes like he does on social media like a weirdo. And he puts on a Tom Brady jersey, and that's the height of sports talk, right? If your words are going to matter about this, present the argument. I'm down to hear it. What I have been doing all week long is trying to facilitate a smarter version of that argument. The argument can't be Derrick Henry's washed, but he's not really washed. He looks 3 steps behind Todd Downing. Okay, well, but what if I present this to you? Well, Todd Downing stinks anyway. Fire Todd Downing. I'll be on Twitter. I'll see you later. Because that's basically what it's turned into. And I think that's just not productive. Paxton in Nashville is next.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
So here's the deal. You all are well aware that Titans Twitter, that Titans Nation has a tendency to overreact. We do this every year after every game. And it's not going to be any different, if we go in there in Buffalo and beat this team in Buffalo. We're going to have the overreaction of, well, last week was this, and this is where we are, and this is, we're ready to go to Super Bowl. The thing is, for me, and the way I look at it, it's simple as this, all right? Once we, do something and lose a game we're not supposed to lose, we often go out and win a game that we're, according to the media, not supposed to win. I'm trying to be as neutral as I can about this thing and just say, you know what, we'll just kind of see where we are and kind of go from there. As far as Todd Downing goes, Buck, you asked the question, is there anything he can do for us to win us back? The answer is no for me. It's simple as that. I'm a police officer, and it's not a secret. Okay, I deal with probable cause and evidence. The evidence suggests, that Todd Downing is going to run, pass, punt. That's what he does. So for me, there's your answer. I think that Todd Downing I'm on the fire Todd Downing train. And Tim Kelly, I hope he takes over at some point, and then we can forget this ever happened.
Now, wait, Paxton, stay with me for 1 second. What if Mike wants him to do that? What if that's the offense that Mike wants?
And that's another question, Buck. That's a great question because guess what? What is the veto power that Vrabel has?
Nobody's changed the offense since Matt LaFleur was the coordinator. It's just changed coordinators. Like, it's the same offense. It's the exact same look.
And that's a very good point, Buck, and I agree with you. If it is Vrabel, then we have some other things and questions we need to ask. But for right now, it's fire Todd Downing, and I'm going to down that hill, man. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the call. I'm going to react to that coming up next. Last call for phone calls. There's a bunch of you. We got polls to do. We'll wrap it up. Don't do me like that, man. It's tough out here in these streets. V-Love has tweeted us the fact that there are losers still harping on last Sunday when everybody else in the damn building is focused on Buffalo makes me want to throw my radio into the Stones River. And then he took a picture of the river and sent it to Stay with me, V. It's okay. I told Lucas, which is the best of the calls remaining? Which one do you want me to take? He goes, it doesn't matter. They're all the same.
I haven't been screening them. I have no idea.
Oh, good.
Well, Jackson's been doing it.
Good. The executive producer of the show has no idea what's about to go on the airwaves.
Someone's been doing it.
Swell. How about Jason in Nashville?
Hey, Buck.
Hey, buddy.
So I think I have a little bit of an answer to what you were saying to that last caller. You know, when you said, like, the offense hasn't changed since Matt LaFleur. And I think part of that is, I mean, it worked under Arthur Smith. And I think the reason why is because there's more creativity in the play calling. Like, play-by-play, there's much more creativity, but also it made more sense. I mean, I'm sure.
Is there an area, Jason, and it's okay if you don't have the answer to this. I'm just curious. Like, when you say it was more creative, do you have a specific example, or are you speaking in general terms?
I mean, I'm trying to think of a specific example. I mean, I know we did a great job getting the tight ends involved. I mean, obviously we had Jonnu Smith at the time who, I mean, maybe he's just more talented than the tight ends we have now. But also I feel like he did a better job of getting just talent involved in general. He got the ball to A.J. better. I don't think we really utilized A.J. or Julio last year to the best of their abilities. But then also, like, I mean, the one time Todd Downing tried to get creative last game, he did a jet sweep with a tight end on 3rd and 1. When, I mean, you could just throw Derrick Henry up the middle. Or, I mean, I wouldn't have been upset with a pass right there. But jet sweep to a tight end on 3rd and 1, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Thanks for the call, buddy. Now, here's what I'll say. Art was well regarded in this way by other NFL coaches. When you talk to coaches about Arthur Smith and what made him qualified for the job of head coach, what came back a lot was, at least in my conversations, he's running so many different plays out of the same formations that it makes it more difficult to defend. Now, I don't know if that's a wrinkle of the Titans offense under Downing that is going to exist. I don't know if we just haven't seen it yet. And I haven't gone through and charted specifically how many different kinds of plays they're running out of similar formations. But I do think that is something that Arthur Smith is held in high regard by a lot of people around the league, and something to keep in mind. Let's do one more before we got to wrap it up and do some polls. How about Jesse in Macon County? Let's chime in. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? I actually went to the game with Landon from Lake Flat.
Oh, no kidding.
Lake Flat.
Wait. So not only are we getting Landon, the Giants fan, to call in, we got his buddy that went to the game with him. Titans or Giants fan,
What
Jesse?
part of Brooklyn's he from, Jesse?
I'm a Titans fan. I got a little more sense.
Okay, did you hear Lucas's question?
I did not.
What part of Brooklyn is Landon from?
He's not from Brooklyn.
Okay, gotcha.
But I didn't even hear his call. I didn't even know he called in until I was listening to the radio. But no, I was just Sunday. I thought was the classic Titans game. You know, I mean, last year we lose to the Jets and Texans, and then everybody's throwing a fit about it. Which, I mean, the Giants do suck, but
I do still think they suck for what it's worth. Like, I think he's right about that. I do think New York sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic Titans loss, and then I honestly think coming up Monday night is going to be the classic Titans win. But anyways, that the play call with the tight end around on 3rd and 1, that was just, I mean, that was a terrible call. But I know everybody said that, but
it's okay, Jesse. Thank you for the call, buddy. No, don't get in my ear and say do the polls. I have a question for you.
What?
Back off.
What?
Do you think we got anything done today?
I never know.
Polls.
Not now, Jenny. I'm on the radio.
Oh, Jesus.
Buck Rising gave me a job. Said something about a poll update.
I feel less good about this the more we play it.
Where you became a folk singer. Anyway, Buck Rising's producer and correspondent has the final poll update. I'm not a smart man, but I know who Lucas Panzica is.
Thank you, Forrest.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. You can custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you when it's manufactured. Who's the Titans' best player? Derrick Henry or Jeffrey Simmons? 70% say it's Big Jeff.
Oh, yeah, it's Jeff. It's Jeff until further notice.
Are you surprised the Titans did not promote David Aneni to the active roster? 72% say yes.
Yeah, 72% of you watched him during the preseason. You're like, hey, I know that guy. That guy's on our team. Why isn't he sticking around on our team? And you probably didn't watch, what's this guy's name? Jerry Gray? Jerry something?
Jerry Green.
Jerry Green, Jerry Gray. It's all the same. It's just another David Aneni, and now he's on your practice squad again.
Who's the next college football coach to be fired? Elijah says either Scott Satterfield at Louisville or Neil Brown at West Virginia, off to a 0-2 start.
We got caught up in Downing calls again today. Let's do that tomorrow with David Ubben, because there's a couple of different coaches who I think should be head on a swivel.
Eric says Brian Harston at Auburn, and a few people saying Drinkwitz at Mizzou.
Poor Brian Harston, man. Like, I don't know him. He may be a good man. He may be a terrible human being. I have no idea anything about Brian Harston's character, but I'm just made to feel sad for the situation that he's in.
They could beat Penn State at home this week, and he get fired on Wednesday, and I wouldn't be shocked.
No, Auburn's weird.
It's Auburn.
Science experiment.
Does Ed Orgeron speak for every fired football coach? 82% say yes, 18% say yes.
Without any context, the answer is yes, because give that swamp monster his money, baby.
Could Todd Downing win you back at any point? 74% say no.
Well, Russell says, why is Buck praising Downing today? Scared of losing a connection? You think Todd Downing's ever given me anything in my entire life? You're nuts. Yeah. People who hate Todd Downing are going to hate Todd Downing. People who aren't that bent out of shape about Todd Downing are going to pay attention to what happens against Buffalo and probably find something else to complain about. To answer my own question, I don't think we got anything done today, but it was fun. I had a good time.
I guess that's the point.
I hope you did too. Speaking of fun, Kyle Phillips, your leading receiver for your passing game that you hate so much. He's going to be on the radio show tomorrow. Coach Mack, David Ubben, Friday with some football to discuss. Make sure you don't miss it. 10 a.m. we get started.